mean, the last year we set up seminars once a month for people to come and watch the tapes in our library. So over a series of months, we've been gradually working through all the tapes we have, and it's fascinating. These are the people who come, by and large, have been people very familiar with the work of Solution Focus and with Steve and Insoo, their writings, and even they do find it quite. They do want to focus on that, and I've had, even more surprisingly, because Insoo always struck me as very much more kind of people-oriented in the more traditional way, and yet people were struggling with how she was interacting, and in one of the tapes we were showing a month or two back, and I was just puzzled by it and thinking, well, we're being drawn to the wrong things here. This isn't so important.
Do you think it has something to do with them being such an icons also, that people want to look at them as perfect or something and look for mistakes because it's...
Yeah, I think there's an element of that. It's interesting why we're drawn to that. Why would we want to be looking for what isn't working? And it's strange. Even when I'm reading a transcript, I suddenly find myself marking in the margin, why did Steve ask that question? That doesn't make sense. Why is he asking that? And highlighting it. I hope it's more of a kind of neutral curiosity, but I'm certainly noticing and focusing on what seems eccentric to me, eccentric in the sense of not fitting with what I would have predicted he was going to do at that point, or what I would do. So, so that...
Yeah, so because you're comparing him with yourself in a way, in the same...
Well, with myself, or that's very arrogant, but what I feel I've learned from him and what I think is the right way to go. And Steve, I mean, Steve could be really quite... anybody who remembers him and knew him like yourself, he's very unpredictable. Not the... it's just a very small way of putting it, because I'll give you an example. He, in one of the times, he saw a family or a couple on one of his visits. We've got the tape somewhere, and I said to him in the taxi going home, I asked him about the timing of when he asked the miracle question, because he did a lot of things in the early part of the session, and it took him a long time to ask the miracle question, and it was so obvious to me he could have asked it right near the beginning. And I said to him, why did you choose to ask the miracle question later rather than earlier, or something like that? And his response was, well, I was just feeling bored, just felt like doing something different. Well, what do you do with that? I mean, yes, we're not regimented, we're a people, we do get bored, we do get this, we do get that. But I guess I feel when I go into a session with a client, like I said before, I've got a crutch in my head, I've got a plan, and I do try to hold to that as much as possible. I do want to be spontaneous and responsive to what they're bringing, and I want to make it solution focused. I want it to, I don't want to stray out into God knows what just because I'm feeling bored. I might be stuck, and that's something else. If I'm feeling absolutely stuck and want to try different things, then we've got to be creative. That's obvious. But for the most part, I love the fact that I can do something that's, in a sense, recognizably the same session by session. People would say, oh, how boring, or life's not like that. I think there's a kind of wonder in that, because there is a structure, but I emphasize the structure. It's not that I know that 17 minutes in I'll be asking this question, and 25 minutes that question. It's obviously not that. There are so many variations of questions we can ask. There's a great richness to solution focus, but there is a structure, which is one of the things that makes solution focus so researchable. You can say, have you been doing solution focus? Yes, I can define it because I've been doing this, that, and the other. Right, well, we can research that. Whereas if you're doing a mishmash of things, then what are you actually researching? Fine.
Do you think, would you call it a discipline? Like, like the martial arts or something? You have some movements or some ways to do things that is very, very clear. And then, of course, if you're in this is maybe not such a good example, but if you're in a fight, of course, you do it do them just because you need to do them, but when you train them and when you are into it, it's very precise what you're doing.
I think discipline's a nice word because it also includes that aspect of disciplining yourself, that in any session with a client there's so much you feel the urge to take account of, so many things that interest you to do. People are so rich and interesting, and if you're trying to be solution focused with a capital S, capital F, doing solution focused, then you have to leave out so much to stay with what you're doing, and that is hugely challenging, and it's a huge exercise in discipline. And I'm way off being as good as I would like to be at it. I think it's really hard, and now that's good from my point of view. I'll go on developing, improving, challenging myself. I like that. But when you see a master like Steve doing something and then suddenly veering off, it's very confusing. So